Welcome back to We're Not Your Typical with me, Sophie.
And me, Jade.
Today we have Talia and Sammy on our show, our best friends.
These girls have been with us through our whole journey.
Through the goods, bads, ups and downs, and we're so grateful for their support.
Enjoy the show. Hi, girls. Thanks for joining us today on We're Not Your Typical.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure. How are you?
We're good.
Good?
All good.
Soph, you good?
Very good, thank you.
All right, so we're really just going to dive straight in. This is Sammy, if no one knows. She is my bestest friend. We've been friends for 40 years.
Yeah.
I mean, we go as far back as my dad and your mum used to live together.
Correct.
So we've known each
Not in
other.
that way.
No, not in that way. So we've known each other for as long as we can remember.
Yeah.
So obviously you've always been there since when I had all my children.
Yes.
So from the first one, Brodie, to Blake, to Bailey.
Yeah.
So you've been around children as well as friends having kids.
Yeah.
So really what I want to ask you is, when did you realise that Bailey wasn't
I think
quite all there?
I think I remember actually we were in Spain. We were on holiday, and I remember you came to see us for the day, and we were all having lunch. The kids were in the pool, the other two, and Bailey was just fixated on the phone.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like the fixated like some of the kids. It
Yeah.
was just there was no awareness of anyone else around the table. And I remember I tried to make eye contact with her, she wasn't. And then I think you spilt the hot coffee.
Yeah.
And it went everywhere.
Yeah.
And we screamed because it was burning.
And it was near Bailey.
And she just didn't react.
No.
And I remember thinking, I'm not sure that's quite like, but I didn't have kids.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to suddenly say, oh, Jade, do you think something's wrong? Even though I feel like we're close enough that I could have said,
Yeah, of course.
And then it just, from there on, I think then it became
Did
apparent.
you have that feeling that it was autism, or just that something wasn't quite right?
Yeah, I think listen, there's so many different elements of autism.
Yeah.
And what I'd seen, family, friends or things, I had a feeling, yeah.
Did you? Yeah. Because autism, as I've said before, would never have come into my brain.
What did you think?
We thought it was maybe her hearing to start with.
Yeah. I remember.
We knew something wasn't right, but I don't know, for some reason, autism just it's never been around.
But one thing about you, I feel like now, and the fact that you're doing a podcast with Sophie, back then, that would have been on your radar because you didn't want it to be on your radar. And you were trying to do everything else rather than accept that might be that. Maybe it was too early for you to know. But even when we tried to introduce you, or you just didn't want to go there.
No, I wasn't ready.
So I think maybe subconsciously you did, but you didn't. I don't know.
I'd love to know more, Sammy, that, because Jade and I have spoken before and we said that, autism wasn't even something that was in our mind.
Yeah.
But for you to kind of like feel like that straight away is interesting, because what's your experience with autism? It's a question I always like to ask people because we didn't have any experience at all.
So I had a nephew who was a couple of months older than Bailey.
Yeah.
So whilst I didn't have Daisy, I could see there was something, like she wasn't hitting the milestones that my nephew was, because they were close in age.
Yeah.
And that's what made me think something's not there. I didn't think about the global development or anything. I thought of autism. But
Strange how it just comes
Yeah.
into minds, because it did the same with my husband. He just came out with it, didn't he? He just came out with, maybe she's autistic. It's just, I think something...
yeah,
I honestly have no idea. He came out with it not knowing anything as well, really. Less than Sammy knows. It's just one of those things. So,
I
Talia.
actually, while you were talking about that, have just remembered I saw you in Zara with Bailey Bow when she was about, maybe she was like 9 months old, 9 months to 1, and you were in the queue in front of me, and I knew who you were, but not enough to say hello. And you were with your mum, and you were clapping in the buggy, Bailey Bow, look at mummy, and she was like staring at the lights. And I remember thinking,
Oh, how awful is that, though? Like, not awful, but to think that someone that you don't even know, but someone that is clocking that before even you think it, and you don't even know it, and someone else thinking that.
Like, Mum, look, she's not looking at me. And your mum was saying, darling, like, she's da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
But obviously we'd just been through that whole thing with Callie, so it was so close to home for me.
And I was going to say as well, not everyone, I know that feels hurtful for you, Jade, but because Talia has the experience now because of her niece.
Yeah, of course.
This is Talia, by the way, my sister-in-law,
Hi.
and basically second mummy to Callie. So she's come through our entire journey with us.
Yeah.
So even though that would really hurt when it comes to being in the queue, I'm sure there would be plenty of people that wouldn't even
like
have
you.
that in their minds.
You wouldn't have
100%.
known.
No,
Like,
I didn't.
only because we had just come out of that whole journey with Callie that I remember thinking, you're aware and you're not even aware of it
Yeah.
yet. Because we had just been through that whole thing with Sophie, like the denial and stuff.
Yeah.
It was so interesting.
Mad.
You did have denial a lot at the beginning.
Do you
which is-
think?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you not?
I don't think I was in massive denial. I just think I didn't want it to be true. But I
Okay,
don't think I was like, definitely not, no way.
No. Okay. Maybe denial's are you weren't ready to deal with it. Then
Yes.
maybe that's
And
maybe
accept
what-
it.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think that's maybe better. You weren't denying that something
Was not right.
wrong.
Yeah.
But I remembered, like, I used to say, "Oh, what about like joining certain groups, or I'll come to things with you where you can meet other mums," and you were just like, "No, not ready for that."
But
And I
you're still
understood
not
that.
fully ready, are you,
No,
to do things like that?
absolutely not.
No, but
It
you're a lot
cringes me
better.
out.
You're a lot better. You wouldn't be doing this.
No, but this is on my terms
No, Jade.
With your people.
with my people that I feel safe with and that understand me.
Yeah.
Because I told Jade to come to a support group that I'm in now, and I said it's really great and it's with loads of other mums that have children on the spectrum, and she was like, absolutely not. But I wouldn't have been ready 2 years
No
ago, would
way.
I? No way.
No
She's now
way.
5.5, Callie,
Yeah.
and I've just started to do things like this.
And
it takes
because
time.
Callie is thriving,
She
Yeah.
is thriving.
you're able to open up about it now.
Yeah.
Whereas I still feel that I still feel like I'm at the same place that I was when she was 9 months old.
Mm-hmm.
So I still feel like she's a baby. I don't feel like we have progressed enough yet, or that she's thrived enough yet that I want to
I think it's the
Show
unknown.
her off.
It's the unknown.
When we first met, when our friend introduced us again, I came away from there crying, saying, I can't see Sophie again. I can't look at Callie yet because I
How
don't.
old was Callie?
Callie was 3,
What was it?
maybe 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
had definitely two birthdays since
Yeah.
we've known each other. And I wasn't ready to see that yet. I wasn't ready to see my future, even though I want to know my future. I wasn't ready to see it. And I felt like seeing and sitting with Callie, I was looking into my future. And
Well,
I
and that
wasn't
was
ready. That was
painful.
so painful. And I know that you don't get really two autistic children exactly the same, but I just couldn't do it. And yet now you put me in a room with Callie and I'm
yeah.
obsessed.
She's the biggest inspiration.
And I've always said since not day one, since like she's been thriving, maybe even over a year or so, I've said if Bailey ever turned out anything like Callie, I would be over the moon.
Yeah.
But I'm convinced she won't. But that's just me.
That's the most difficult thing about this. It's so unknown, and that's what's so frightening. So, Talia, the same question to you, really. When did you start noticing that Callie wasn't as typical as maybe your children or people that you know?
From pretty early on. I think that I noticed it more because I'd just done my training to become a sleep consultant. So I knew what I was looking for in a typical child with sleep, and she fought sleep pretty early on. But there were also like physical like behaviours, you know, the way that she used to like arch away from you and typical things like that she used to do. But again, I hoped that she had bad hearing. And it wasn't until you started investigating that we all really realised that it was something more to it. But it was really, really difficult because the only person at the time that I ever talked to about it was Ben, your twin brother, who's my husband. And he was also in as much denial as you were.
Yeah.
So I felt like I could see something that nobody else could see at the time. And obviously with things like autism, early intervention is so important. And I felt like life was running away with us. And then we went into lockdown. What was she, 9 months old? Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, this is terrible. She needs to be in a nursery.
So you noticed things before 9 months?
Yeah.
See, how
Did you not?
Wow.
No,
Funny,
not at
isn't it?
all.
I remember
Even before her aggression.
even from I was in the hospital when she was born.
Of course.
Can you ask if I would definitely wasn't in the hospital when her children were born, and I won't be for this one as well, but that's fine.
Her cry was different from when she was born. Like her cry, like I can't really watch the videos of like the first few days because I find it hard, because her cry was like, she was like a forest animal it sounded like she was in pain, and I couldn't understand why that was at the time. It wasn't until later that I would then look back and realise that was why. But even when she was in the jumperoo and the high chair or the bouncer, there were things that she did that to me were really obvious. But again, at that age, it's really hard to know whether they're just quirks, because children are weird and they progress at different stages. But with Callie,
it makes sense now knowing that she's autistic.
It makes sense now knowing that she's autistic, and if she wasn't, you would have put it down to a weird trait or an attribute or a quirk.
But you send me videos all the time, because I lost my phone during lockdown. My phone broke, and because of the new GDPR rules, I lost everything. And it was kind of like, was that meant to be for me? Because looking back,
because I've got it all.
I don't have any of those memories, and I've almost blocked them out now. And I just look at, the good times.
Yeah.
I think we look for it more because
all the
of our
time.
children.
And I look for it with Marley as well, because when you said about the cry, the first thing that what's it called when they take the baby out of you, the obstetrician, said to me when Marley was born was, "Oh my goodness, I've never heard a cry like this baby boy before." God. And
you're still on the table.
I was paralysed on this table, being like, "Please don't tell me this." Yeah. So that's
funny.
Thanks for that reminder.
Yeah,
it's funny because actually Bailey never cried. Thinking about it again, it's also a sign. She would never wake up for her feeds. She would stay asleep. She was very jaundiced, which I think makes them very tired as well and sleepy. But we used to have to like flick water over her to wake her up because she just would not wake up for a feed.
Makes sense.
She was asleep a lot.
Makes sense.
So yeah,
I think that was difficult for you though, being a sleep consultant as well, and especially because we run our page together, our social media page, and Talia's side of it was always like being a sleep consultant, and then we were just general motherhood. And people used to comment all the time, because I used to then go on and be like, "Callie's been awake 8 times tonight." And people used to probably saying, "Well, Talia's a sleep consultant. Why isn't she helping you?" And then we would get in a tiff, because you'll be like, "How can you keep putting this up when I'm a sleep consultant? I'm not going to get any clients."
I don't even know if you know this, but we went to Leeds when Callie was about 6 or 7 months old for the weekend, and it was horrendous for you because she was up all night in the hotel. You came to breakfast, you were so stressed, so exhausted. "I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm so tired." And when we got home, your mum called me and she said, "You've got to do something with this baby. Like, she doesn't sleep. Poor Sophie and Josh, they're pulling their hair out." And that's when I said to her,
"You can't help.
I cannot help, because this is not a sleep issue. I need to know that there's nothing more, because I don't feel comfortable working with Callie and teaching her to sleep independently when I really believe that there's more to it."
But that was so hard between me and you, because we're best friends.
Yeah.
We did everything together, and yet I was like, "Why isn't she helping me with Callie's sleep?"
It was so
but you weren't able to say back, "It's because it's not a sleep issue."
No, which is
Why
when your mum...
did you feel you couldn't say it to her?
It wasn't that I felt I couldn't. I couldn't, because I think by that point, Sophie so deep down knew something wasn't quite right, but was so not ready to even think about it
or discuss it or anything.
And it was so, we are so close, and it was such a sensitive topic. I would never have said anything. That's why I spoke to her mum, who has a very clever way of being able to communicate back with her own daughter.
We love Pam.
So she Pam. So she was like, "Leave it with me. I'm gonna sort this out." And that's when you made the appointment with the first ever paediatrician that week, and she had her ears tested, and
it was a terrible time for me.
It was a terrible time.
It was so traumatizing, because it was lockdown, so I had to go all the way to London on my own with this baby to have this hearing test, and she did not play ball at all, but it came back that
she passed it.
I mean, for one thing, you don't want them to pass. They pass the hearing test.
I just ran upstairs to the paediatrician. I was like, "She's passed her hearing test." And he was like, "Sit down." And I was a wailing mess.
Yeah.
And he was like, "We will sort this out."
But you used to go through such waves as well, where one day it was really inconsistent, where one day you'd be like, there is definitely something, like, what is it? What is it? I just want to know. And then I'd see her the next, and we'd talk about it, and then I'd see you the next day, and you'd be like, sorry, she's absolutely fine. Can you just leave it?
It's very me as a person. Very two different
Yeah, so
personalities.
I just used to have to judge based on the day, like what Callie was doing.
That's hard.
They do have good days and bad days, like all children do.
Of course.
So
Jade is one of those people where I can say whatever I think, and like the good and the bad, and we don't argue.
No, we don't. No, we don't argue. We just
No.
have it out.
Yeah, I don't even think we've had one.
No.
But with this issue, I think Jade is very sensitive, so not a lot of people actually know that about Jade as well. Like she'll be this.
tell everyone.
I'm seeing this as we're
Yeah,
on the
she's
podcast.
really
She's got a
sensitive.
lovely, vulnerable side to
People
her.
think, but like both of us, we
Yeah.
are all mouths.
Yeah.
We don't hold back or unfiltered,
100%.
but also very sensitive. Maybe that's why we are best friends.
Yeah.
But Jade is sensitive, so like even the small things, like if we're out and like our mutual friend Katie, if we're out and we haven't told Jade, which is normal, it's not because they see each other without me. She'll be like, well, they didn't ask me, maybe because I'm with Bailey, and it's like, no,
Oh,
just,
no.
yeah, and it breaks her heart. And so much so, a couple of weeks ago, she said to me, oh, no one got Bailey a birthday present. I was like, oh my God, shit, did I not get Bailey a birthday present? And I was like, no, I did. And you were like, no, you didn't. I was like, and then literally I left her. I called our friend. I was like, order something now. We need to give Bailey a present. Like, I feel sick for Jade. But
It wasn't that you hadn't got her a present. I feel because she didn't have a party, so
why?
She won't.
That's
She
her.
won't
She
do
won't.
it.
She won't.
it won't. It's not that I won't do it. She won't play ball at all. She won't go to a soft play. She won't
She won't go to soft
She won't
play.
get anywhere.
No entertainer.
like anything.
Music.
And even if something's going on, she's not there at all. She has no idea.
I've seen her at one party when she was one.
That was
It's
Marley's
more
party.
stressful for
No.
Jade.
It was, and you left.
Yeah, it was.
Early.
It was
Yeah,
the
you
joint party.
You had it joint with Katie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was joint.
And
Marley's party.
it was so.
You were in a state. I
I was
you
in
on
a
the way in.
horrendous state. And listen, I'm sure a lot of it is down to me and how I feel. And I know it's not about me, but we went to another party recently and she would cry. She wasn't happy. And I feel, why am I putting her through that if she doesn't want to? Like, I don't want to upset her or hurt her. So I'm not going to give her her own party. And it was more the fact that I am more sensitive when it comes to Bailey. I am, because she's autistic. And I know that nothing is ever done from my friends through maliciousness or malice or anything. I know that it's just normal life happening. But it just felt like that because I didn't have the party, her birthday was very much like, oh, happy birthday. And we do presents for our kids, and we always have. And I mean, Sammy, you've always got my older two from birth presents. And I just felt like maybe it was just forgotten because it's
No,
Bailey.
it was forgotten because we just forgot.
I
but
know.
I understood yours. And then the minute I left you, I called Kate
Yes.
and I was like, we got to get Bailey a present quick. And I was like, and she felt sick.
Yeah, I know.
because, we never want you. But we are more sensitive to it because you are sensitive.
Yeah.
And rightly so, But I wish that sometimes you weren't so sensitive because it's not that. It's just sometimes we
I
don't
know.
do things.
And I know it's not. And when you don't ask me out, I know it's not because you don't want Bailey there.
No, I come over to you all the time with
I
Bailey
know.
and they play.
I mean, Bailey goes to nursery 5 days a week anyway,
That's
so I
also
couldn't
true.
go out.
But also, how do you feel? And this is a question that I always ask myself, and I can probably really understand what you're going to say. You've got two typical children, but Bailey isn't typical.
Yes.
And you've got quite a lot of friends that have babies the same or similar age to Bailey.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel seeing other children?
We actually had this conversation earlier, and how does it make me feel? Truthfully, horrendous. That's my truth. But for some reason, not with Sammy's child.
What? Because she's like yours.
Yes, I mean, she is my goddaughter. She doesn't know it, nor does Sammy.
when was this proposal?
I take the role of my goddaughter, of my godmother.
Actual godmother. that's listening to this.
Yeah, no, don't. But Jade.
Do you know what it is? It's Sammy's my absolute everything.
No,
She's
I'll
my
tell you what
ride
it
or
is.
die.
It is that too, but you don't know. But I had a lot of miscarriages.
Yeah.
So my journey is very different to
Right.
some of our other friends. and they had smooth pregnancies and whatnot. When I had my third miscarriage, Jade was pregnant with Bailey.
Yeah.
We found out we were pregnant at the same time, my third.
Oh my God.
And I miscarried and Jade carried on. And my 5 best friends were all pregnant at the same time. And they all went on to have their kids. So there was a period of time where they were all doing things together
And you weren't.
and I wasn't. And I actually ended up then having to do IVF. So I'm like going on my way to the clinic to have IVF, and they're all going to heartbeats. And I was like,
That's so painful.
like stab me in my heart.
So
Yeah.
so
That's so
But
painful.
I was always present in
Always.
their lives. But I think I was just sad for myself that I couldn't join in.
Yeah.
So
I
now,
was sad.
I know.
Because
I know
when
you
we
were
both
sad.
realised that we were pregnant together,
Yeah.
I remember being at the bottom of your stairs in your
Yeah.
house, and we were like, we
But
can't
you were like,
tell anyone.
You were scared to tell me because I'd had.
But then you hadn't
second.
told me
Yeah,
that
she
you were
was like,
pregnant.
I'm really sorry, I'm pregnant. I was like, so am I.
I know, we were
Aw.
so happy.
Yeah. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
That happened.
How old is Daisy 1?
Daisy's 16 months now.
So is she talking and
Yeah.
walking?
Yeah.
She's-
So I
she's
think
even
that's why
further than
she feels
Bailey.
different.
we got to a point where
Okay.
your son's story, my nephew, he's 4, Callie's 5.5. So there's I think there's like 13 months apart, is it? I'm terrible with months.
Yeah.
Yeah, 13 months.
Well done.
Thank you. And Mum
Carol
always
Vorderman.
says you just need to be mindful that Story will start speaking and will take over with Callie's speech, because there was a time where they were like similar with their words.
Yeah, there was a time where she started to gain speech.
Yeah.
And he was learning. He was quite delayed with his
Yeah.
speech anyway, which was a godsend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For us, it was a godsend.
Yeah, but there was a time where they were on par, and you used to say things like, "Is she ever going to say mummy? Like, do you think she'll ever say mummy?" And then he started saying mumma, mumma, and I was like, "Oh
You're like, please don't.
my god!" Kick him to the floor like.
Yeah, I find this really hard to listen to because I don't know if she's ever going to say mama.
That's what Sophie used to say, and I used to say, "Of course she will."
I've even got a video. I play it all the time, and she's standing there, and I'm like, "Are you gonna ever say mama?" I can't believe it because
mama,
and I
Callie,
say mama and nothing, like just completely
You
in her own
believed
world.
she wouldn't ever say mama at a point.
Now she
Well, I
doesn't
love
bloody
you.
stop
Now
saying
she
mama
doesn't stop.
all night.
Bailey just
Mama.
laughs when I say mama.
She thinks it's funny.
Now she does.
Yeah.
But that is a progression in itself. I know
Yeah.
it's so small at the moment, especially for you, but for her to laugh and acknowledge is such it's the next step. It's the right step. It's so tough though.
So tough.
The unknown is just
But that, yeah, I think that's for you. Yeah, is the unknown. And even if I could make one wish for you, I feel like it would be, knowing you, it wouldn't be to make her typical. I think it would be just to get her to be able to communicate with you.
Yeah.
And say, you know what, mummy, tummy. Like crying, and she'll go tummy, because then you know she's got tummy ache. Like sometimes Jade will call me, she's like screaming, like, I don't know what's wrong with her. She's obviously not well, but she can't communicate with her.
does that sound familiar to
And
you?
that's
Oh my
really
God.
tough. Like,
It's so tough. You have no
Yeah.
idea what's wrong with them,
Yeah.
but they're crying or they're screaming. You've got no idea what
yeah,
it is.
I think that.
Or sometimes she's really, really hurt herself. but
She doesn't feel
know.
it.
Aware.
And I don't know.
Until a bruise comes up weeks later and you're like, okay,
She
that's
can
where
bash
she
her
hurt.
head on a corner. I would cry.
Did Blair and Story, my niece and nephew, ever say, Mummy, why does Callie seems different? Because I
Never.
remember once Blair said to me, she was at my house, I had Blair for the day, and Callie and Blair were playing, and she said, Callie, why, like, you're playing next to me, but you're not playing with me.
She's
And
so
I was
smart,
like,
that Blair.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, Blair, she's happy, she's fine, she's okay then, TT, if she's fine, that's fine. And that was it. But I'm wondering whether they ever go home and be like,
Never.
Callie had a bit of a day today. Never.
No, so we went on holiday as Sophie and I with our kids and Sophie's parents in April. And in the lead up to that holiday, I thought this is the first time my kids are going to be spending solid time with Sophie's kids every day for a week, which they haven't done for a long time. And Ben and I talked a lot about whether we would have a conversation with Blair, not to tell her that Callie is autistic, but more to protect Sophie and Josh in case Callie said something like that and at the dinner table, and depending on what kind of day you'd had, like it could have gone really badly, like it could have upset you.
I mean,
or-
one night was tragic.
One night was
she didn't
horrific.
come into the restaurant because it wasn't the buffet, and it
because it wasn't her routine of
Yeah.
what we'd done every night.
So
That-
Mummy and Callie went to the Leading buffet again. My worst thing to go to.
And
But were they not even say anything like that then?
no,
they're
and we
too young.
decided not to. We talked about it for ages. I think I mentioned it to you that we might say something to Blair particularly. We decided not to, and we are still so glad that we didn't, because there is no need. Like, Callie to my kids is no different to Marley or Story or Blair. Like, they all have their quirks. All four of them.
They certainly do.
All four of them have their quirks, and they all have their moments. And I think because they're so close in age, we've got 6, 5, 4, and 3 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
A typical child would also do that.
Exactly.
So it's
They
like,
all-
We're just more sensitive.
Yeah,
to
we
it,
are.
aren't we?
And then that's where we feel like we have to be their voice.
we have to
Oh, you don't
explain.
really mean
Yes.
that. She's just,
Yeah.
Blair, she just wants to play with Story for now.
But you
Yeah.
would say that anyway if Marley did that or Blake
Yeah.
did that
Yeah,
or Bro
you're
did that.
correct.
Yeah,
You'd
you
say
would.
the same
Yeah,
thing.
you
Be like,
would.
oh, she's having an off day or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
But
it's true.
You'll relate it back to that.
But then also, I think I could not manipulate a normal child, but I could explain to, say, Brody or Blake, that's not very nice. You need to play with everyone and explain it, and then they would do it. Whereas
yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do that to
Yeah.
Bailey.
And but even I still wouldn't be able to do that with Callie. We went to the cinema the other day. Why did I book the cinema with my children and my husband? It was trash.
No.
And this is Callie in front of everyone. Where's Marley? I'm like, Callie, please be quiet. We're in the cinema.
Film is
Yeah, well, the film's on.
I don't know what you were thinking. I would
Mummy,
never take
popcorn,
them.
phone. So I was like, you know what, have the phone because you need to be quiet. So I gave her my phone. She's turning it up. So it's like everyone's turning around. I'm
oh
like,
my God.
turn
I can't
it
hear it.
down. But that's where I can't say, we are in a cinema. We do not talk. Everyone's watching a movie. There's people around us. You need to respect them. Nothing. Just completely over her head. Because we've got a couple of people coming on in the future that are more experts. And there's one thing I really want to talk about with one of them is about PDA, which is pathological demand avoidance. And it's, I feel like it's really common with children with autism, people with autism. So I really want to bring that up into more conversation because I think that's something that she may have. It's almost like she can't physically do it, but she can. Or she can't physically understand it, but she can. But I need to know more about it.
I think it's the want.
Yeah.
I think put Bailey aside because she's nowhere there yet, but I do think that they understand a lot more than they let on. And I think it's when they want to do it or when they want to listen.
But that's
Because
really,
it's
really
their
challenging.
world. Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's very much their world. We live in it.
Yeah.
Go on.
Jade, do Brody and Blake know?
Yes.
Yes.
They do.
Yeah. They've known since the beginning.
Since the beginning, since you've known.
Yeah.
But they're older than
Yeah.
like,
I mean, Brody's nearly 11 and Blake's nearly 9. So Blake probably didn't understand it at the beginning because she was 6. But Brody's always understood it. We've always been totally honest and open with them. And they're not stupid children. They also know, like, why isn't Bailey talking? Why is she flapping? Why is she not responding to us or wanting to play with us or kiss or cuddle us? When they see my friends that have kids the same age as Bailey doing that. So we told them from day one, really, that as soon as we knew that your sister's autistic, and we explained it to them. We haven't gone into the depths of actually what it is because with them we try and live in the now. This is what it's like now. Because my children do ask me, like, is Bailey ever going to speak? Is she ever going to want to cuddle
So
us?
hard for you to answer.
And I have to be honest and say, I just don't know, darling. I just don't know. But we hope so, and we
So
cross all our
brave of you to
fingers.
even say it the way you are.
Yeah, because
I would break every time a question was like that.
yeah, like not to offend
No.
anyone, but I couldn't have that conversation with Blair about Callie, and Callie's not my daughter. I would find those questions unbelievably hard to answer.
Because I actually do remember before the holiday, I said, "Are you going to tell Blair?" And then we just burst
Yeah.
out crying. We're like, "No, we can't."
Yeah, no, it's not a conversation that I feel. I also feel it's different because Callie is not their sister. She doesn't live with them, but I'm not ready. They have such a beautiful relationship.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for that to change, and I know that it would, especially with Blair. Like, she's so inquisitive. She'd have so many questions. Did they ask lots of questions all the time?
They asked lots of questions, but
think
I
it's
just
obvious-
felt
it's more obvious with Bailey.
yes, it is.
And
I don't know
and
if
they
you've
live
met Bailey, but it's obvious with Bailey that
And I feel I'd rather they hear it from me than
some-
overhear parents speaking, or even one of their friends, because they are at that age now where, you know, Brody's friends might say, "Oh, what's wrong with your sister?"
Yeah, you
God,
can tell
you
that
can't-
Bailey's
yeah.
not typical. So
Yeah.
you would not be able to have a conversation with them.
But that's where I think the generation that we live in now, like these children are so like they're
Adaptable.
totally. I don't even think they would ask that question. I just think, oh, maybe she's a little bit different, and that's where we'll
And
leave
when you
it.
put up the reels and Brody wrote, "That's my sister."
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
Because that
broke
also
me.
gets you a lot. Yeah.
He is so sensitive.
He's
Yeah.
11.
Yeah, nearly 11. And he's my sensitive one. He really is. And he loves the bones of her. And it's just so difficult. Just, it breaks my heart for my children, for my 2 older ones.
But what do we always say is Bailey's world. So
I just want her to be able to communicate with them. You know, she doesn't have to be your typical child, however you want to put it. Like, she can be autistic, like, but she's just has no interest in them whatsoever. And I think what I struggle with the most is that just wasn't the plan.
No one ever has a plan in life.
Well, listen, Bailey wasn't a plan, but
They have each other
You
as
can't
well.
give her back now.
I wouldn't give her back. But I would change some things.
where you said you are quite literal with no filter. That was the prime example of that.
No. But there's some things that I would change.
I think that's a really fair thing to say.
Yeah, I do as well.
I think anyone in my situation, you know,
Not everyone would admit it.
no,
Yeah.
definitely not.
They wouldn't.
And,
But
you
people
know, a lot of
listening
people
to
have
this
said
will.
to me,
Totally.
which really pees me off. A lot of people have said to me, "Well, you're very lucky. You've got 2 typical." Well, that makes it okay that I've got 2, so I should have 1 that isn't.
Yeah. But again, by doing this podcast and saying things like that to the people that have no connection to autism, they might not see it. Like, obviously, now you say it like that, it sounds horrific. But someone might think, well, she is lucky she's got. But that's really offensive. And by you, like, speaking up and telling them what is okay and what's not.
Yeah.
And people then look at that and go, actually, yeah, she's right.
You know,
Like,
Bailey doesn't know how good of a family she has.
She does.
She doesn't know what she's missing out on. And
That makes it harder for you,
yes,
not her.
not for her. She lives,
She's
I mean,
happy.
she's so happy. She's smiling. She loves life. I mean, the littlest things make her happy, which is unbelievable. That would make me happy. But she was missing out on so much of, like, her sister and her brother and her mum and her dad.
It doesn't mean that she won't have that, and there will be
I
amazing
get that, and I
times
think
and
I'm
memories.
just really I feel like because I haven't really spoken about it that much in the past, that I think it's coming out now. I feel like I've said before that I'm grieving the loss of the child I never had.
For you as well, you've had Bailey for 3 years now, but she's actually been a baby the whole time.
Yeah.
Like when you have a kid, you go through the milestones
Yeah.
and you develop in different ways, and they say this, they do that. Bailey's kind of always just stayed as a
So you're
baby.
still in the
She's still in-
trenches
yeah.
of having a new baby.
Although she now walks.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've had a baby for 3 years basically, and you don't know how long.
No.
And your days
And again-
your days are difficult.
And my days are long.
Yeah, they're long for anyone with kids.
Yes. 100%. I don't know, we were saying it before, weren't we? Like, we don't want to take away from other parents, like how hard it is
being
a parent to a typical child. But I do feel like it's a lot harder.
I think for you, it's also like repetitive behaviours. Like
It's boring.
Bailey, like used to. I don't know if she still does this, but she'd have to drive in. Jade would have to
Oh,
get
yeah,
in the
yeah.
car and just drive Bailey around, like outside their like
Development.
and just drive around in circles. Just
For
have
what
her in the car.
reason?
She just wanted to
When
get in the
she was
car the
happy,
whole
but she
time.
would take Jade's hand, pull her to the car, and Jade would just have to drive.
Remember when Callie used to do that? Take your hand. She used to give me the remote control.
Oh, that's
But look
That's a
at the
big thing.
progression. Callie was
She was
like
3
Bailey.
when she did that.
I know, obviously, because of the speech and things, it always feels like
Yeah.
she's worse. But every time that Talia agree, every time Jade's talking about things about Bailey,
It's weird.
It's
because
like
once
reliving it for us.
Once she stopped doing stuff like that, you never think about it again.
Yeah.
The same way you change your last nappy and then you change a nappy 5 years later and you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I can't believe this. But I remember Callie doing that all the time, leading your hand.
I know.
But no one's ever gonna. Everyone can always say, "Oh, you know, yeah, but one day you'll get there. And one day I can relate to that." And you're like,
It's the
"How
you
do you
don't know.
How
Yeah.
do you know?" And that used to annoy me as well. Do you remember? I
Yes.
used to say to you, be like, "Yeah, but you'll get there." How do you know?
Mm-hmm.
You don't.
So you can fully understand that in a different way.
Yeah,
Like
totally,
with me,
she
I
does.
always used to say to her, everyone would be like, you know, one way or another, you'll be a mum.
Well, it's
Or,
like
or
when,
you can get pregnant. Yeah, thanks. But
yeah,
I
when
can't
you were
keep
saying
them.
that earlier, and I was going to
That was
say,
the best one.
if you have miscarriages, people would say, well, at least you
All
can
the
get
time.
pregnant.
At least you get pregnant and
Well,
be like, oh,
no,
okay, that's great.
For
I
what?
have my 10th surgery. Thank you.
That's
It's
a horrendous thing to
and
say.
I know people don't mean it. And like
No.
with you know, but sometimes you just have to think, yeah, actually, I can see other people and I would see other people in my set and I'd be like, oh, well, they've got kids, maybe. But no one's ever going to truly understand how you feel.
No,
what you
and
go
I
through on a
understand that, and
day-to-day.
I don't ever think that they should, and I'm fully aware that they don't.
No, but it's good to make people aware. So like when you're out and about, and like now I know Bailey and Callie, and I'll see things, and I'll be like, oh, you know, maybe she needs a bit of help. Go and ask her, is she okay? Not be like, oh.
Or when
Yeah.
the kid's
look
having the
at you.
tantrum in the front
Yeah.
on the floor in the
Yeah.
supermarket, I would be the main person that would say to my friend or someone, "Let me sort that child out."
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Now I wouldn't dream of it.
No.
And
you
everyone
wouldn't.
that's close to you wouldn't either.
Yeah, but it's
So-
funny because I remember when I first put that up, when I first did my post about Callie, what was it now? It's 3 years ago?
was the best
3.5
post.
years
It's a good
ago.
post, wasn't it?
It's in the summer.
Josh sent me a picture 2 days ago, sobbing. He said, I just went on your Instagram and watched the
I watch it all
reel
the
of
time.
Callie. He said, it's the music and the
It's the
video.
music.
Her music gets me.
It's
I'm like,
terrible. And I remember a family friend of Talia and I said all her friends were in a shop and there was this kid having a meltdown and they were going, oh, for goodness sake, get the parent. And she said, stop, girls. You've got no idea what's wrong with this child. And she said, thank God to Sophie's post, I have now seen such a different light. And that's why we're trying
we're
to
doing it
educate
for.
and share it, you know, and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you for having
We
us.
love
We've
you.
loved having you on here.
We would be lost without you.
Yeah.
And we appreciate everything that you do and everything you want to learn.
you go, girl.
Thank you.
Love you.